some of you are new faces. I'm still eating my second breakfast here, sorry. I'm Pamela, for those of you that weren't here yesterday. Jean's going to be leaving early just to torture me. So thanks, Jean. We're going to talk about how to get reviews today. So I'm Pamela Fagan Hutchins. I am a mystery thriller suspense writer who, because I learned a lot of semi-helpful junk, wrote a book called What Kind of Loser Indie Publishes and How Can I Be One Too? And to my great surprise, what started happening is that my traditionally published friends were going through the same things that I was as an indie. They were finding that they were responsible for a lot of their own promotion and advertising, that no one cared as much as them about finding and getting reviewers, etc. Unless they were on their first book or the creme de la creme, the publisher was not paying for a publicist and things like that. So I started having a lot of traditional authors coming to my workshops too. So just know that this stuff works no matter how your book gets out there. And that, I should have said this yesterday, so for those of you that are repeats for me, mine is one set of opinions. You will find other opinions. You may like those better. Throw mine out and go with what works for you. But if some of what I say yesterday or today sticks and helps you, then that makes this trip have been a super success for me, all the way across the middle of Wyoming. All right, so some quick but necessary foundations because we have a few people that weren't here yesterday. First is that publishing is a business, and a book, while a piece of art, is an asset in the publishing business. It is something that you are trying to monetize, to get a return on your time and investment. So you need to be able to accept that, to be able to work with the kinds of things that I talk about, and wear both hats. I'm an artist over here, I'm a business person over here. And that is no matter how you do publishing, whether you are indie or traditional or hybrid, your book is an asset. Just ask the publisher. The second thing is that I cannot help you much, if at all, if your book is what I call runny, buggy, catch-up. So for those of you that weren't here yesterday, the quick version of that is you're not a brand name. Heinz and Hunt are brand name catch-ups. The Albertsons brand better be nearly as good as Heinz or Hunt, or nobody's going to want to buy it, even at a discount. So I can't help you much if you are the smelly, runny, lumpy version of ketchup, right? You have to have something that the market recognizes as a good book that meets the standards of a nice cover, well edited, good content, etc. If you don't have those things, your reviews will be at best not there because people will not leave them, or at worst they will be poor and a very strong message to you that it's time to pull that book down and go back to the drawing board. I am a firm believer in that we don't pursue sales, we pursue the 5 R's. The 5 R's are readers, reviews, ratings, recommendations, and some other thing. What was it? Ranking. Some other thing that I can't remember because my head is swelled with allergies this morning. And reviews may be, for all of us of these, the part that confounds us the most. And so that's why we break out a session just on how to chase the almighty review. We care about reviews, not only because we're hoping that they help us to paid sales, but they are validating. When you're not selling books, a few good reviews can be just as good as if you made money, right? Or that first really good review from someone other than your husband. And we also care about them because many of the promotional opportunities that we will want to pursue have minimums as to the number of reviews or the ratings before you can even be considered for selection to participate in those promotional opportunities. Advertising doesn't work very well if you don't have reviews and ratings. So anything that you might spend would be a waste of money if you didn't have a good set of reviews. And the kingmakers, the really big promos like a BookBub, you rarely see books get picked for those promos with less than somewhere around 75 reviews, and that's super tough to get to. So we need ways to pursue that. It's a sales driver, and also the great unknown of these algorithms that the sales sites use to give you visibility on their site, whether it be recommendations or appearing on other people's pages as people also bought books by. There are some standards built into there, we are told, that have to do with ratings and reviews, that people are not recommended books that are 1 star. You know, people aren't recommended books that have been out for 4 years and have 0 stars. So just quickly to show, I'm going to show you 2 series that I have to show you the reviews on these series. They were different strategies on how I got these reviews. So the first was my Katie Connell trilogy within the What Doesn't Kill You series. And I'm going to tell you about a strategy I used to get those 3,527 reviews as of this week. The other books in the series have less, but still strong. But you really focus, if you're a series writer, on book 1. Even if you're not a series writer, if you just have 1 book that has super strong reviews and then a couple that have decent reviews, it's going to go a long way towards validating you. The other series we'll look at a strategy for is the one that just started coming out a year and a half ago. We're at 1,152 for book 1 here. Different strategy completely, and faster results, but that probably has to do with 10 years of trying on everything. Let's talk logistics about reviews before we get into the tips. What is a review? A review is where someone speaks to having read your book and their opinion about it. They leave it on a sales site, they leave it on BookBub, they leave it on Goodreads, they leave it somewhere other people can see, and it acts as a form of recommendation or the opposite thereof, a scare them away tactic. It could also be someone that blogs it. Their book bloggers we'll talk about that leave reviews on their blog websites. It can be people that leave a post on Facebook that gets a little traction, or a comment on a post. Even though we'd rather they put it on Amazon, and you should really be coaching people that 60% of the sales for indies or more come from Amazon. And honestly, that's for everybody. That's also traditional. Amazon is the big gorilla in the room. So it's really where you want to coach them to leave reviews. But if they can't, there are some minimum purchase requirements and things that you have to have a credit card with your account that some people don't want to do. And if they don't want to do that and they can't leave them there, then Goodreads or BookBub's the second best, or sharing from a website. So these are all good places. And then of course there are also media reviews where it appears in a publication. That is more and more rare. Yes?
Are these in your book that I got?
A lot of this is in this book. Yes. And I have a really good article on the skipjackpublishing.com website, which is called 10 Surefire Ways to Get Reviews. So it is basically a summary of this presentation, and you can just go there to that website and get that article free.
Can you repeat that?
It is at skipjackpublishing.com, and it's the same name as this class, 10 Surefire Ways to Get Reviews. All right. Who leaves reviews? Well, really anybody can. I mentioned that on Amazon you have to meet some minimum requirements, with one caveat, and that is if Amazon thinks they're somehow related to you, they're not going, or will benefit from you selling more books, they're not going to be able to leave a review. I found that people named Pamela can't leave reviews on my books, because everybody knows that Pamela is we're all related. But definitely people with your last name are going to get flagged by Amazon if they're coming from the what do you call it? Your identification for your laptop at your home. Yeah, that thing. If they can tell that they're coming from your house, they're not going to be able to leave a review. If they think you're from the same company, like a publishing company, you're not going to be able to leave a review. So sometimes you have people with great intentions, but they can't leave them on Amazon. Send them to Goodreads, send them to BookBub. And if you haven't claimed your author page on BookBub, do it. It's a great place for people to leave reviews and to leave recommendations that get sent out to their own followers and yours. So claim your author page. And about 1% of strangers that read your book will actually be successful in leaving a review. Amazon, from my estimation, information, just watching flow pulls about 20% of the reviews down for whatever reason. Violation of their terms of service, whatever. They decide that somebody says something, this laptop appears to be going to sleep. Somebody says something that they don't like in the review, they'll pull it. Now, if it says, I hate Amazon and their shipping policies stink, they're going to leave that up and it's going to be a 1-star for you. You can argue and you can argue and you can argue, but they're not going to take it down. So you're pretty much stuck with people that haven't even read your book. But you won't be able to get things on there that would be super helpful from people that have, and Amazon is in sole control. We've spent a lot of energy fighting that battle. So it's a staggering number to think 1% of people that try to leave reviews either do and or are successful. Blurbs. You can get people to blurb your book, usually other authors, and there's a special place within the KDP system where you can put that up yourself, even if they don't go and leave that review. When you're setting up your book, you can go into your Author Central account and you can fill out an editorial section, which is a super important section to fill out because it's shown in its entirety on your sales page. So it's different than your KDP dashboard where you set the book up.
What is KDP?
Kindle Direct Publishing, and it's how you publish to Amazon, whether it is ebook, paperback, large print, hardcover, all of those formats that go to Amazon you do through KDP dashboard. Okay, and then the Amazon Author Central account has to do with your author page and then some overarching things about how your book pages look. So I usually cover that in a more advanced class, so I'll just throw out the idea, and if it resonates and you know what it is, go do it. If not, revisit it at a time when you have become more advanced in your publishing. So blurbs from authors versus readers versus publications. Most surveys show what people care about are blurbs from other authors, and then they care about number of reviews and the rating itself. So I would not be concerned if you can't get media coverage for your book, or you can't get a reviewing publication to review your book, because most readers don't understand whether that matters or not. That's an industry thing, right? That's what other publishers may be thinking about, but it's not what readers are, for the most part, looking for. What kind of reviews are you looking for? Well, the better the rating, the better, and yet at the same time, if you see a book that has 15 5-star reviews, I tend to think, well, that person got their inner circle activated and no one else, because it's not a lot of reviews yet, and they're all basically glowing, and they mention the author by name. That's, to me, a dead giveaway that we haven't gotten real readers to that book yet. Even a 1-star review at that point tells me somebody's reading that book. And so I tend to look at reviews, or what I call troll reviews, when people leave really bad reviews, as a mixed blessing. What they prove is that it's not just the author lining up their inner circle. So if you get a couple of 3-star reviews and your feelings are hurt, that actually improves your book. I promise you it does. Because it makes other people believe all the reviews instead of discount the 15 5-stars. So the 2 3s help those 5 stars actually mean something. It's really hard to accept because we all want just 5 stars, but it really does not help you just to have them. Yes.
4 stars.
4 stars is awesome. I tend to not leave 5-star reviews on books at all because I reserve that for Lonesome Dove, and The Prince of Tides, and the things that I think are just the best books out there. So I encourage the people that leave reviews on my books that I know not to overinflate them. I am not the best book that you've ever read. I am not Lonesome Dove, okay? That's my 5-star, so leave me what you think my book's worth. Guess what else that does when you tell people that? It makes them feel more comfortable leaving that review, because not everybody that reads your book thinks it was, I'll just keep going with Lonesome Dove, was Lonesome Dove. And you need to make it safe for them, or they're not going to leave any review at all, right? They're already scared to leave a review. You feel publicly exposed if you're not used to doing it. You're afraid of hurting your friend or your family member's feelings. Make it safe for them to leave an honest review. In fact, We'll talk about that a lot more in a little bit, but we'll leave that for now. There is an article on the Skipjack website, skipjackpublishing.com, called The Good and Bad Reviews, where I go over in depth all the different reasons that bad ones appear and why they should be, you know, not as scary as you think they are. Now, if they are all that bad, you've got a problem, right? If what you're getting is a common message with nothing higher than a 3, then you should be thinking about listening to what they're saying and revisiting the book. Because isn't that the value of being an indie, is that control over content? If somebody tells me I have a typo, I replace that book within a day. You know, I immediately take care of it. If somebody tells me the whole thing is CRAP, I better listen if that's the common message I'm getting. Should you ever respond to a review? Good reviews, should you respond to them? Bad reviews, should you respond to them? You have the ability to do so, right? It still exists, right?
No.
Oh, it took it away.
Amazon took it away. In other places, you can. At Amazon.
But on Goodreads or on BookBub, or somebody leaves a comment on Facebook you don't like. If it's on your post, you can delete that comment. If it's not on your post, should you respond? And my feeling on this is that it cheapens you as an author to get into an argument with somebody about your book. And it makes that mystique that you have of being special, that other people believe an author is, and we all know because we're here and we're just normal folks trying real hard to get people to read our books. But other people think there's a mystique. And when you argue with them about anything, content, facts, editing, cover, you know, their subjective opinions, it cheapens you. Please don't do it. The same thing really goes for positive comments as well. You take that mystique away if you're too available. I run a bunch of ads on Facebook. People leave a bunch of comments on ads. I delete the ones that are just rabid trolls. I leave the ones that are subjective opinions because it's my post and I'm paying for it. But then ones that are really positive, I just click like on them because I don't want to get in, and this drives him crazy. He's like, you should thank him, you create super fans. But I feel like that it's not the thing to do. If they're asking a direct question, how do I get this in large print? Well, no one's going to answer that but me. So I think that's okay. But other than that, I think that's my opinion. Remember, you can throw out opinions and just keep the things that work for you. So the good and bad reviews on Skipjack is one that you might want to go and take a look at, okay? And that's skipjackpublishing.com. All right, so let's go through these tips, ways that you can get reviews. A lot of people are like, I really want a Kirkus review, or I really want a Publishers Weekly or a Forward review, and you can get them. They are pricey. They cost some cha-ching, and Kirkus is well known for flaming reviews. So you could pay whatever Kirkus is currently charging, which is probably about $500 for a review. It's going to take 7 to 9 weeks to get it, and they may send you back one that makes you just want to curl up in a ball and never write again, or they may give you a good one. And it really depends on the reviewer as well as on your content. If it's bad and you don't want it to go up, you can ask them not to publish it. So now you're $500 paid for a review that's going nowhere. But if they do one you like, and they can push it out to other sites, and so it'll go like to Barnes & Noble and things like that. So it can be nice. I did it for one book. I got a good review, thank you God. I will never do it again. It's too expensive. And it's one review. And readers care more from what we see in surveys and the impact of different reviews on the sales of different books. They care more about blurbs from other authors first and readers second. So this very expensive Kirkus review validated you, gave you some industry cred, and not much else other than one review, okay? And it's not even a review that will go into your rating. You have to post it in your editorial section from Author Central, right? It's not going to be 5-star and go into your average or your count. Publishers Weekly, currently you can pay them $399 and they will put you in their book life supplement that goes out occasionally with Publishers Weekly. You're not in Publishers Weekly, you're in the supplement for indies only. So that's not so hot, right? And that's $400. They do have some free opportunities where you can submit and say, I'm an indie and I'd like you to consider me. Good luck on that one. Then Forward has a service where you pay $500 for one or $695 for two, and you can submit for possibility of free. So it's similar here, but a little more pricey. Again, these are 1 to 2 reviews, not in your overall rating, not impacting how the algorithms view your book for recommendations. So do it if you must, okay? Book bloggers. Book bloggers can be fantastic. I have a list in the book, Loser. I also am giving you a link to a readsy.com post on their website that talks about ways to find book bloggers, but they are like God's gift to writers. And what you do is you pitch them like you would an agent, and they publish on their own websites. They very, very, very frequently also will post them to at least Amazon and often several other websites as well with a rating. How do you find them? As I said, Readsy, my book, the Indie Book Reviewer, and some do charge a fee. I stay away from those, right? I look for the ones that don't, that get their money some other way. And there are ways for them to get paid. They can use affiliate links on their website so that if people go and buy your book, they get a small percentage back on that. They can sell advertising space and some like that. If you can't find any other way, then do it through a paid blog tour that's arranged by a publicist. Again, this Readsy blog will give you some good ideas on that, where they arrange multiple bloggers around the launch, and you get some exposure. The nice thing about book bloggers and book blog tours, in addition to just the reviews, is it gives you something to repost on social media, to share, and that creates some additional visibility. Of course, you can also do that by reposting reviews you find on Amazon. You can actually get a link from that and repost them. But I really like book bloggers. Let's keep talking about them for a minute. Pitching to book bloggers. Once you find them, you go to their website and you look and see what their requirements are. Some will say, not open for submissions, or I only take this genre. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Don't contact me if you write this. They will ignore you if you don't follow their submission requirements, just like an agent will, okay? And so you describe your book in a compelling manner, just like you would in a pitch or a query, because you're competing for their time. They can only read so many books. They can only write so many reviews. If you want some good ideas on how to do that, how to pitch a book in general to an agent, or how to pitch to a book blogger, the queryshark.blogspot.com is Janet Reed, an agent. She hadn't updated it in about a year, but the backlog of different pitch examples is gold for figuring out how to pitch a book. If a book blogger says yes to you, yay, you're going to get some, press or free press, or not press, but you know what I mean, ink. And they're going to want you to scratch their back too. They're not going to want you just to say, oh, thank you, and stand with your hands behind your back. When they publish their book blog, they'd like you to go out and comment on their site, and they'd like you to share it on social media so that you're getting something out of it, but they're also getting some exposure and potentially some other authors and readers that will follow their book blog. And don't forget to ask them to publish their review on Amazon. It's okay to say, are you also going to put that Amazon? I sure would appreciate it. You're not? Would you do Goodreads? Would you do BookBub? Would you do anything else? Okay, no. It's still wonderful that you're doing what you're doing, but and don't pay these reviewers directly. If you're going to pay somebody, pay a publicist that does a book blog tour, but don't pay the book blogger directly. It's the same thing as paying for any kind of review. Smelly. Pitching to continue. When you find them, you're going to solicit as many as you can, because you're going to get far more no's than you get yeses. I think I put that down there. I expect about an 80% no rate. So get a list, put your, figure out the requirements, get a spreadsheet going, and start pitching these people and keep track of who you've done and who you've not. Give them about 3 months advance notice so that you have a prayer of them being ready to do it around the launch of your book, if you're going to try to do it as a launch thing. doesn't have to be a launch thing. You can do it anywhere in the life cycle of your book, but they prefer when it's a launch because it's splashier for them as well to say new book by. And you can gently request when you want them to post a book blog review or anything else they're going to post, but you don't dictate it. You say thank you. And some have alternate vehicles for exposure. You always say yes. It may not be that they have time to read your book, but they've read the blurb and they like the cover, and they decide that you could do an author spotlight where they're going to just put your description up and your cover and your picture and your bio. That's cool. You know, that's nice. Just say yes. Maybe they offer you a chance to put up a guest post or an excerpt or something like that, or answer questions for an author interview. Say yes. You won't get a review out of that, but you're still getting exposure and something you can reshare, okay? Some like to do a giveaway in conjunction with their review. They want you to offer a print book or a couple of ebook versions of your book. Say yes to that as well because it helps them get traffic to the blog post and more eyes on your coverage. Some like to do a cover reveal. If you haven't already done one, say yes to that as well. It's, again, just a splashy thing to do. So I've made friends with a lot of book bloggers over the years. I don't think for the last few books I've bothered contacting them because I've developed my own source, but I really relied heavily on them for a while to keep me going or jumpstart some books. So number 3, free or discount promos. If we keep in mind that about 1% of strangers that review your book ultimately are successful in getting it posted, then it is a numbers game. You need lots of people to have read your book. When you're not a brand name, a household name, and you're trying to get those people to see your book, then you need to do something to get it in their hands. And 99-cent or discount promos can be a good way to generate that volume. So with my first book, the one with the 3,527 reviews, I did it permanently free or perma-free for 18 months and then ran weekly promos on it, weekly, to generate volume and so that I could get reviews. Now, I didn't do this until books 2 and 3 were out in that trilogy so that I could have the prayer of sell-through, that they would go and buy number 2 and number 3, and I would then recoup my investment that I was pouring into book 1. This worked like gangbusters. It really worked, and I made a lot of money doing it. Yes?
I'm on with KDP, but I'm with the
Kindle
exclusive.
Unlimited?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
How did you get it free from free?
What you do is you have to go wide for a while with that book only, okay? And you make it free everywhere that they will let you make it free, and then you report it back to Amazon as offered as a lower price elsewhere. You can do that through Author Central, through your Author Central account, and contact them and say, will you price match free? And they don't have to do it, okay? So if your book is, if you don't have any other books and you're not selling any books, they have no incentive to price match free. Their only prayer of making money is if you leave your books for a price. But if you are selling other books, and if it's a first in series and they know that making it free is going to stimulate that sales funnel for that series, then they'll say yes. I have only had them say no once, and then I just had to work on it for a while and went back and asked again. But that's how you do it. And I have a lot of people that are in Kindle Unlimited that pursue that strategy on a long-term basis, and first in series is everywhere. And you'll get some people complaining that are in Kindle Unlimited that they couldn't get it, and you'll just have to remind them if they contact you, it's still free. You still got it free. Yes, Millie?
It is, yes, thank you. 2 questions. One,
Yes.
how much do they want to see you selling in order to say, yep, you can put your first book free?
Man, it's anybody's guess, but let's say a couple of copies a week of the books in your series. It's not a lot, but you know, a good time to ask for what you want is after you've done some other kind of promotion or gotten some other kind of sales bump, so that you have some activity going on with you, and then ask them for something like that.
Like after releasing a book?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a really good time.
Second question, do you get much, and I ask this because it happened to me, much anger if by going wide on that first book and then not having the rest of it's available exclusively on Amazon?
Sometimes, I mean, I get that anyway, you know, why can't I get this here or there? My standard answer is there is a free Kindle reading app that you can use on any Apple device or any desktop or any Android. The only thing I can't accommodate is Nook, right? I can't accommodate Nook readers, but I explain to people that I read books that I buy on Amazon, on non-Amazon devices all the time, and that usually gets most of them calmed down. But you do get some people, especially the Nook users, that are unhappy, and I respect that. And I also feel like that I've tried a bunch of different ways, and for me personally, with 30 books, it's very hard for me to manage the assets across, you know, all these different platforms, and I'm okay with their anger because I just can't do it any other way. All right, so a good place to look up some of these promos. My friend Nick Eric has a very updated, here are the best of the best promo sites. Promo sites are sites that have subscribers, and they do direct email contact with your deal. These are deal hunters. They're looking for 99 cents or free usually, but they can reach hundreds of thousands of people, while mere mortals like you and me can reach our handful of, you know, maybe a couple of thousand, and we're doing really good. BookBub has like 12 million, maybe more than that now, 12 million subscribers. And you want to look to the best of your ability for ones that also target by genre, okay? Because you don't want to just send it to anybody. You want it to be your readers, the best you can be, especially because if you've set your book up to have a subscription to your newsletter in it with a nice lead magnet, you want it to be people that are signing up and are your folks, the ones that you want to stay in contact with and can sell books to directly. Different class, I can't go any further into that here. All right, so that was the saving grace strategy, and if we think about that being the 20% less reviews than were actually posted, it kind of makes me want to vomit. You know, it's like I worked so hard. I should have 5,000. I don't. I have 3,500, and I'm still super happy. Another way is to give it to advanced reviewers, and in order to do this, you have to have a list of people to give it to, and in most cases, this means a subscriber list, and means that you really want these people to be subscribers who read what you write and not just people that are on your list. Okay, that was my big mistake early on, was I built a huge list of people that cared about me but not about what I wrote. Okay, and that's not the same thing. You want to activate people who read your books. Hopefully you can monetize it, your subscriber list, but if you can't, then consider whether reviews are more valuable than cash or more valuable than no cash. So if you're sending out your newsletter to your subscribers and nobody's buying anything, how can you make them valuable? You can send out books in advance of publication and ask for their review and tell them that that is now a requirement of staying on your list. I did that with a huge mailing list and got a huge number of reviews from it and dumped a huge number of people that didn't review. I had an 18,000 mailing list at one point in time, and I sliced that thing down to ribbons because they were not people that were making me money, and you have to pay for these, the administration of these lists on the sites like MailerLite and MailChimp, and I was losing money on these lists. Said, okay, let's make you into reviewers. That worked. And that's how I did the current series, the reviews I got on the current series. And I've used them now on an ongoing basis as my advanced review team to try to get to 100 as fast as possible. If you're in KU and you're promising an exclusive, it is not a violation of terms of service if you do it as an advanced review. You know, if you're doing it up front, they understand that people do that. It is after it's published. Make clear that it's an exchange, that you are giving them a free book in exchange for a review. And if they don't live up to that, cull them from your list at some point. You know, you might give them 6 months. You might give them 2 or 3 books into your life cycle before you decide that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. I had an author we have an author that had a really great success with this, with her debut book, and sent it out to 1,100 subscribers ahead of time for a limited time. And I think what really works especially well is give them a time limit. Have a link that will expire. I use BookFunnel to do these. I talked about this yesterday for those who were here. And I set a time limit on it where it would expire and they couldn't read it after a certain period of time. I also set caps on how many people, because sometimes people will send it out. And I did get pirated for about 1,000 books once before I caught it, which, you know, the way I look at it is those people weren't buying books anyway. They're going to steal no matter what. They just managed to steal from me. But you can set all kinds of restrictions on BookFunnel, like number of books, time limit, or even make people enter an email address that's associated with your subscriber list in order to view it. So that worked really well for Switchback, and that was...
One quick question. Sorry, do you cut the BookFunnel off when your KDP goes live? Or do you?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, because I sent the link out ahead of time.
So you feel that's okay?
I feel like that's okay. I've also learned that with Amazon, if you're selling books, they are not going to really argue with you about much anyway. Right. I mean, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're willing to say sorry and stop doing it if they contact you, but they really don't if you're selling books. It is all about, for them, making money from happy customers. The fifth tip is an expensive one. It's called Author Buzz. I'll go over it quickly. You can look at the website, see if it's for you. But they send out opportunities for people to compete to get a print copy of your book, and then allow you to send short notes to each of them. And you could give them a lead magnet to your subscriber list in that short note. And you could ask for review. When I had Saving Grace permanently free, and I did Author Buzz, I gave them a link to download Saving Grace free and then asked for their review. So it gave me all kinds of benefits above and beyond the giveaway on the book that I was actually doing with them that I was hoping to get reviews on. So I all of a sudden had contact by email with their list. It was it's super unusual in the industry that people share that kind of info with you. I've had good results with it, but it's $1,500 or so. Number 6, run your own giveaways. So how much interest can you attract in giving away something through social media or your website? I use rafflecopter.com to administer these giveaways and set the types of ways in which people can enter to try to get a chance to win based on the activities I'd like to see them perform. One of which can be leave a review on X book on Amazon, and then tell me that you did by putting in the permalink in your, you can, again, a different class, but trust me, they can get a link that shows they left that review and prove to me that they, I won't let someone win unless they can show me the permalink. Anyway, I've given away, you can give away things that are free to you, like ebooks or, short stories that are associated with the series. I've given away jewelry. I've given away all kinds of things. Scarves, things that have to do with my characters. Number 7, mine reviews of similar books. Go on to Amazon, find the book most like yours. For me, for Saving Grace, that was Janet Ivanovich's One for the Money. For Switchback, it's C.J. Box's first Joe Pickett book, Long Range, Open Range, something range. There you go. And go and take a look at the reviews there, and let's take a look at an example. These are the reviews for, this is C.J. Box, this is Joe Pickett. Okay, so you go to the reviews at the bottom of the book page, you start scrolling through them, and you look for one that is one of the big reviewers. Did I put the wrong one up here? Oh shoot, I may have done there's usually like a title for them. There it is. I paged down and I find this guy and it says top contributor. Usually that's somebody that's really serious about reviewing books. It might say Vine Voice reviewer or Hall of Fame reviewer, something like that, where you see this special Amazon thing. Click on their name. It takes you to their profile, and often in their About section, they're going to put a website that will be where you can go and see where they post their reviews. These are often book bloggers, right? So you go out to their website, And this is the Old Books by Dead Guys book blogger. I love that title. And you can go to his Facebook page, or you can leave comments on these blogs, or you can look and see if he has pitch requirements, and somehow find out how to get connected to this guy, because if he left a 5-star on the book that's most like yours, you want him, right? And he is a reviewer that Amazon recognizes and isn't going to pull down. So it's laborious, but you know, what else do you got? When you're going for those first 100 reviews, one at a time, just, you know, you're fighting for it, tooth and nail, this is a good way to do it. You can also invite social media contacts to review your book. I will do this occasionally, or I used to, where I'll say, hey, for those of you that read Switchback, remember that authors love it when you leave a review. And then what happens is that a couple of people that totally forgot to do it go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm going out and doing it right now. And so it's a reminder to your contacts, the people that care about you, to go do it. And it's not the same thing as that thing I told you not to do yesterday, which is saying, please go buy my book. Remember I told you I launched a book? How come you guys haven't bought it? I've only sold like 10. I've seen people do this over and over, and it's like you just basically slapped everybody across the face a few times. They're not going to go buy your book. But you can gently say, hey, if anybody hasn't yet, that would be a super nice thing to do. And I always end those kind of posts with, and let me know what I can do for you. And then if they ask me to do something, I do it. Okay? Remember that yesterday we talked about paying it forward before you expect payback. Always reminds people you're willing to help them too. Let's see. Ask at the end of your books. You have options as an indie about the things you can put at the end of your book before you say the end. Once you say the end, the retailer is going to pop them back out to the site, try to get them to leave a review, and suggest several other books that probably aren't yours for them to buy. So you want to do this before the words the end. In fact, I don't even use the words the end because I'm so trying hard to get all of what I want in front of this person before Amazon gets them back. But you just basically say, I would really appreciate your honest review on the website where you purchased this book. It's the best way for other readers to find their next great read. Thank you so much. And then you give them a link. Make it easy. Don't make them go have to find your book again. You send them exactly where you want them to go. Now, the challenge is that there are lots of different calls to action you could use at the end of the book. And if the reader answers the first call to action, that is the only one you're going to get, because now they're out at the sales site, they're not coming back. So you need the one you want most there. If you've got a next book in the series, and you would rather them go buy the next book instead of leave a review, then put that first. Hey, next up is book 2 in the series that you just loved. Go for it, and send them there instead. Or if you'd rather have them as a subscriber, put that first. Here's my lead magnet. Download this short story free, and get a newsletter from me once every time I have a new release. You got to decide what's most important. But the review thing, when you're at the beginning of your career, especially when you have only one book, is probably the one you're going to want. What I actually do is I put the request for them to subscribe to my newsletter before chapter 1. And that way I get them with a freebie up front, and I get them with whatever else I want them to do at the end. So, number 10, was I on number 9? Time flies when you're having fun. We're gonna have a few minutes for questions at the end of this one, which is super exciting because I usually go up until the absolute last second. Pitching press. Especially when I first started out, I was a lot more obsessed with I wanted to be mentioned in entertainment publications or book journals. And I really spent a lot of time and energy looking for book reviewers with newspapers and magazines and contacting them. And with some success, and not completely. So I'll give you a few examples. I have a contact who writes for a magazine that's on childhood disabilities, ADHD. And I have a son who's ADHD Asperger's. I wrote a book about that before I published my novels, and I wrote to her directly, and she did a full-page review. It was fantastic. I got a lot of sales off that, actually. That doesn't usually happen. But the publication was directly related to the content of that book. Whereas a newspaper with a book reviewer, you're getting everybody. You're getting people that look at that have no interest in ADHD, right? Or whatever it is that you wrote, as well as those that specifically are interested in it. So if I was going to spend my energy, I'd be putting it toward publications that very directly targeted the types of readers I'm looking for to make it worth my while. You're more likely to get a yes if it's in conjunction with an event, like a reading or a speaking engagement. A book signing, not as much, right? Because a book signing is about come buy my books, whereas a reading or even more a speech is about you giving something, paying it forward to the community with content, and so it becomes a little bit more newsworthy, right? So if you have something like that, you can make a request in conjunction with publications in that area. You won't always get a yes. I asked 4 books in a row to be in the Houston Press, which is basically an entertainment newspaper in Houston. I used to live in Houston. I was president of the Houston Writers Guild, ran critique circles every night. Eric called them all my weird writer friends. They'd knock on the door and he'd go, "Your weird writer friends are here." And they loved it. But it used to just be our lives, you know, and I thought, okay, I really want to be in the Houston Press. This is kind of what I do. And they just kept ignoring me. The silence was deafening. And then all of a sudden, I get this cryptic message from the book writer that says, "Go out on our website." And I went out, and it's like top 10 writers in Houston, and I was number 9. So it was, the moral of the story is that you don't give up, okay? Your first book is not as newsworthy to everyone else as it is to you, right? Because it is huge, and don't get me wrong, it is huge. You should celebrate, you should tap dance, you should have a party, you should do everything you can to make that moment as wonderful it is, but it isn't that way to the rest of the world. Not until you're somebody. Did the rest of the world care, right? And so you're going to get no's, but just stick with it. Really good website and really good post on that website. Molly Green is great in general, but there's a how to get your book reviewed that give you a few more ideas than I've had possibly on how to get reviews. These would be my top tips, but yet there's more. Oh, wait, that's just proving that it really happened. That was that top tip. Because you hold on to those moments for the rest of your life. You put them on your website, permanent links. That was probably the first really big cool thing that happened. You know, that was like,
Huge credibility.
it was like, I was screaming, yeah. I actually had a critique circle there when I got the message, so we had a party. Okay, there's a blog post that I want everyone in here to read. It's on the Skipjack site, and it's called The Uncomfortable Silence, and I apologize in advance. There's a couple of really bad words in there, but it's about reviews. Reviews do tend to make us cuss if we're ever going to cuss. And this is probably the most important thing that I can impart to you, which is you've been asking for reviews, you're not getting reviews, your friends aren't reviewing your book, your family's not reviewing your book, your critique group's not reviewing your book, nobody's reviewing your book. Are they all just assholes? No, right? Some of them are. Let's be honest. If you met my family, you'd go, maybe. But some of them are. But they're sending you a message. That uncomfortable silence that you start getting when they quit saying, I'm going to get to it. Or when you know they've read the book because you saw them reading it and then nothing happens, they're telling you something. And that is, I don't want to hurt your feelings and I don't want to hurt you as a writer, but there was something about this that makes me unable to give you a review. Maybe it's that they feel like you expect a 5-star from them. So it's super important that you let people know that you want their honest review, that you will never, never go back to them after they've left that review and berate them, okay? Because you have asked for them to devote however long it takes to read the book. You've asked for them to go out and do it on a website somewhere, and then they did it, and you don't like it. They still fulfilled their part of the bargain, and nobody that knows you is ever going to leave another review if they hear that you went after one of your friends or family members because they didn't leave a 5, okay? I have heard more stories about this. I know you're thinking, why are you going over this so hard? But if you probably just didn't make eye contact with me, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard. It hurts our feelings, right? We're thinking, who in the world is going to leave me a 5 if you don't? Maybe no one, right? But make it safe for them to be honest. Then, if you've made it safe for them to be honest, if you've given them plenty of time, if you know they read the book, and keep in mind, your book may not be their cup of tea. You may ask people that are not your readers because they're your people to read your book. But they're going, I don't want to read a dumb mystery about a guy in the mountains, Pamela. Ugh. You know, and it's not their thing, okay? It's going to have to be okay not to make them spend 15 hours reading that book, right? They don't necessarily owe you that. That's a big ask. You're thinking, I'm really giving them something special because I'm letting them read my book free, but not if it's a root canal for them, right? And so I know lots of people who'll go, oh, that's so cool that you're a USA Today bestseller, but I would never read what you write. Okay, that's cool. Read what you like, all right? So that's again why it's so important to find strangers who actually read what you write and not people who are like, I would rather die than read YA. I can't do poetry. Please don't make me do poetry. And then you keep asking them to leave a review until finally there's a problem with the relationship now because they're backing away so hard from you, right? So it can mean that you're not their cup of tea. It can be that they don't see you as anything other than what you've always been to them, which is not a writer. It's a school teacher, or it's a lawyer, or whatever it is, and they just can't get past that. You're just not Larry McMurtry to them, and Lonesome Dove was the last book they read, and that was enough for their lifetime. You need to cast a wide net, because even amongst your close friends and family, it's going to be only a small percentage that come through, or that Amazon doesn't pull. You need to give it time, make it safe, and if you've asked them once, make that the last time you remind them. Because otherwise, you're just digging a relationship hole. Now, let's say you've done all those things, and you cast a wide net, and you have this, maybe a group of 100 or so people that have read the book, and then nobody is still reviewing it. Then you need to write a better book. How does that feel when I say that? Pretty crappy, right? But you need to feel that silence, that awkwardness, and say, I did something here. I've done all these things right. I gave it 6 months. There's nothing. I need to write a better book. Now here's the beauty of indie. What do you do at that point? You just pull that sucker down and fix it. Get a better critique group. You know, you still believe in the idea? Just push it through with your writing buddies again. Figure out what the problems are. Fix it. Hire a better editor. Get a better cover artist if it was an offensive cover or one that didn't speak to people and they just couldn't make themselves open it. But this is the most important thing I can tell you in this class about reviews. Everything flows from getting over this hurdle right here. It's what so many new authors have. Another thing that happens is a writer writes beautiful sentences, beautiful paragraphs, but they don't deliver on a whole book. And people review on a whole book. I remember when the first manuscript I had, I won the Writers League of Texas manuscript contest, and I was like, dang, I'm good. You know, whoa. No, the book was still dog doo-doo. The book was not fully realized as to a compelling, high-tension arc of story with a great ending and characters that people kept wanting to come back to. It was pretty words in an excerpt, you know, that looked really good. And it took me a long time to realize the difference. And it took me stepping up several critique groups to realize that difference. Now that book became the one with 3,527 reviews and a 4.5-star rating. Rock on. But it took a long, long time. So there's lots of learning before you're going to get the reviews you want. When you've got that part licked, then these 10 tips are going to yield reviews from you. Are they easy? Are they quick? Not necessarily. Some of them even cost money. You can get these reviews, but it is a lot of work. Focus on the first book that you have out that you're super proud of. Whether that's a first in series or it's the first book you have. But focus on that one. It's going to give you all the traction, and then there's going to be a slipstream of reviews down the line. Now, a really good read-through rate for people buying an ebook is, let's say, about 40%. And you're thinking, that's terrible. Everybody should be like at 100% wanting to read through on my book. No, they get distracted. Your book was good, but it wasn't their cup of tea, or there wasn't a next one ready for them yet, or somebody's shiny thing got in the way and then they forgot to come back. So 40 to 50% read through from book 1 to book 2 is fantastic. The read through percentage increases from there because if they stuck with you through book 2, they're more likely to stick with you for book 3, until such point that it tapers off because you're Janet Ivanovich and you're writing the same book every time and people can't hang with you anymore. But if that's not the case, then they're going to keep reading. So what does that mean for reviews? If it's 40%, I don't have the picture up that shows my review numbers between books. If 40 to 50% is a really good read-through rate, then 40 to 50% is your whole pool of who you have available to review the second book. And of that, some will say, well, I already reviewed the first one. I don't need to do it again. And so you're going to get just a huge drop in the number of reviews you get on book 2. It's okay. Don't let it bother you. Now, what should bother you is if you're not getting a 40% at least sell-through rate to book 2 from book 1. So again, it's that same message right here, right? It's telling you there was something wrong. Maybe it was your blurb and your cover was wrong and they thought they were getting something else, and your book was fine, but they felt like they got a pig in a poke. You know what I mean? Does that expression fly in Wyoming? It's very, okay. So I grew up here, but I also grew up in Texas, and so I'm like, is that Texas? Is that Wyoming? They're often very the same. So maybe it wasn't their cup of tea. Or maybe there were severe problems and they stopped partway through and they never got to the end. So, if your read-through is not high enough, Kindle Unlimited, it should be even higher. And you can literally crunch these numbers. You can look at all your sales in a 30-day period and you can say, okay, I sold 100 of these, I should have sold 50 of those, I didn't, I sold 3. That's problematic. Okay, I sold, I had Kindle reads of 100,000 pages. I should expect about 80,000 pages of book 2. I mean, it should be pretty high, because Kindle Unlimited readers tend to be pretty loyal because it's free to them. So you're looking for those kind of numbers to get the same kind of message. So if the reviews haven't told you, maybe that will be what it is you get. And then look for somebody that you really can trust, and that sometimes means you have to pay them and say, help me figure out what's wrong here. And friends are often too nice. You're looking for the meanest group of critique partners you can find. Just totally cold-hearted, brutally honest, and direct people that are like, I wouldn't buy that. And then you're like, yes, finally, someone told me the truth. All right, so where are we here? The Uncomfortable Silence. You can get that blog complete with its bad words on skipjackpublishing.com. It's probably had more shares on social media. That's been shared thousands of times and not enough as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, if you remember nothing else, remember that publishing is a business dependent upon the discoverability of your books. We need reviews for that to happen. Those reviews lead to ratings and rankings and recommendations. So we've got to have them. And that the reviews are one of the 5 R's, and a key to that, not only discoverability, but landing the promotions and sales and capitalizing on advertising dollars you might spend. If you publish Running Buggy Ketchup, then you'll get the Uncomfortable Silence instead of sales, right? If you refuse to give away free copies of your book for reviews, you're going to have trouble getting reviews and sales. I know a lot of people, especially in the beginning, and they're like, it's the only money I'm going to make. I can't give this to a reviewer. That's a very short-term thinking. You will not get sales unless you give them to reviewers who give you the reviews to help you stimulate sales from strangers. If you give away copies and no one leaves reviews, listen. But remember that less than 1% actually end up showing up on Amazon. And so what will happen sometimes is I'll think someone hasn't left a review, and then when I'm going through and I'm looking at Goodreads, or when, more accurately, Eric is, because I don't read reviews, then I will discover, oh yeah, that person is reviewing. They just choose not to do it on Amazon. And so I get out my voodoo doll and stick them with pins and say, leave reviews on Amazon, I need them there. But I know that they're trying. Find the methods that works best for you and make pursuing reviews one of your top priorities. So for strategy-wise, I'm a beginning author. I have 1 or 2 books out. I have 3 books out maybe in a series. What am I focused on? Reviews. That's it. That's like so writing and reviews. I'm not worrying about selling the books. I'm hoping that follows. But I need 100 reviews on that first book, or 50, or 75, or something, so that I have a prayer of getting promo opportunities. So then I can start selling these books and looking at those other 5 simple steps from yesterday that we covered, and start pushing promotions and things. Make sense? And so just like yesterday, I probably made half of you mad. And I want to remind you that if at any point you felt like this horrible, gut-wrenching feeling of resistance to what I was saying, that's why you came to this class. That's what you should be listening to. That's usually the piece in you that's telling you that was the important thing I've been resisting all along. I at least need to sit with it. Ruminate on it before I discard it outright, okay? If you have questions, if you want to come to one of my retreats and have 3 days of being pummeled, PamelaFaganHutchins.com is where you find more information about me, my books, my retreats. If you want the posts that I've talked about, that's skipjackpublishing.com. We forgot today to send around the book, but Eric will get the book out real quick. If you want to sign up for my newsletter list and get my freebies that go with it, with the Skipjack list, that's book launch promotion plan. With the other list, it's a short story set in Wyoming about a doctor in the 1970s. Then you will sign up by giving him your email. It's quick and dirty. Most of you did it yesterday. And I think that's it, folks. Man, I didn't think I could do this today. I woke up with the worst allergies ever, and something happens when I get smiling faces in front of me in a room, and it just, the light switch goes on. So thank you. You've helped me recover from a really bad allergy attack. And stay in touch. You've got my email, so let me know if you have questions. All right? I think we have like a 45-minute break now, too, so I'm happy to keep taking questions. Was there a question now, Mary Louise?
Yeah.
Yes.
My book is historical fiction geared to young teens about World War II. How successful would it be to approach homeschoolers?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. So her question is historical fiction for teens, approaching homeschoolers. There's a couple of things I would think about here. One is that's a great audience because they're looking for content that's safe for their kids to read and it's going to teach them something. But how likely do you think it is that a teenager is going to leave a review on Amazon? It's about 0. Who's going to leave that review? Their mama. So you want the teachers and the homeschool mamas because then that'll give you access to more of them. Those recommendations
They have
help.
chapters at organizations everywhere
Yeah.
for those homeschoolers to get together.
So children's books, YA, you're looking for the parents. So when you're thinking of who your readers are, you're really thinking of who your buyers are when you consider the buyer and the reviewer. And you can go out and solicit those groups. So one of the things I mentioned yesterday is that for people that write for youth, that you need to be out doing readings or offering something that gets directly to that market. That some of the things we rely on for nonfiction and adult fiction aren't going to work the same for you. So I think that's awesome. Yes, Larry.
How specific do you get in all these reach outs with the type of book that you believe the group would identify with?
Very. I get very specific because some people are going to stop with what it is, and that's okay. What I've learned is if they don't read what I write, I don't want to bother them, irritate them, or expect their reviews. So I start with, when I'm pitching like to let's say it's a magazine, okay, so this very, highfalutin. It's going to be, this is a 100,000 word mystery set in 1970s Wyoming that is a family drama with a message of hope and redemption or whatever it is. So boom, like this is a full-length novel and it's this. Then I'll give them a description to make sure still, like the same thing I'd use on a sales site. Pitch it that way, and then I'll tell them a little bit about me and say, I also in that first paragraph say, and I am writing to you requesting blank, a review, a profile, because I am doing X, doing a speech at the library in your town. I am, you know, whatever it is, but I'm really specific about the book. Mm-hmm. You have one, yes?
Given that, given everyone, go look at your most favorite author, Larry, go look at Larry McMurtry, he's gonna have some crappy reviews. It's going to happen. And some of them are gonna be completely unfair. And you are not completely powerless. And Pamela talked quite a bit today about the use of her readers groups. She doesn't have one readers group. She has about 7 different tiers of readers groups, depending on what level of thing that she's gonna ask. And
I have one that
she
will.
has one that specifically helps manage those things.
So let's say you get a review that's completely unfair. Not just a 1-star, but a review that is completely unfair. It always seems to happen right before you're going to drop $1,000 on a promotion, and that's the top review on Amazon. And so what we'll do is we'll contact that readers group and say, help, we have a troll, it's a time-sensitive issue, go click like on 10 reviews that are favorable, and that'll help us bump those up to most helpful, and the other one will fall in significance, and it works like a charm. And that's like the people, that does not have to be people that would review your book. That can be friends and family who would just do anything for you. Whereas if I'm asking for reviews, I'm asking a very specific group who I think will read it and review it. But if I know that my mom will always go out there and click, I'm going to ask my mom at this point, right? Because you'll get a small percentage of people that are they're just hateful, or they're crazy and they leave something unrelated, but Amazon won't pull it down, and you've got to bury those suckers.
Or they promote someone else.
Oh gosh, yes. And you're like, thank you so much. Yeah. They do that all the time on my ads. It's like, yeah, these books are good. Once you finish these, read these books. You know, and it's like, don't mention the other authors. No, they can pay for their own ads. I don't take those down. I just roll my eyes. I had one person once say, I could have sworn this was a post about this book, and why is this person always talking about this? It's like, because they work for that person, that's why. Did you have anything else you thought of that I missed saying that I normally do, since I haven't done this in a year and a half?
I think Rebecca's story you told yesterday is a good one for people to hear.
Yeah, we had an author in the Houston group that she wrote a pretty good book. It was a pretty good book. It became a much better book after she got some scathing reviews about the editing and a few errors in her book, like flat out errors. It was set in Cornwall, and there were some people from that area that were like, this is wrong. And she, that was when you could reply to a review on Amazon. And literally she said, if I fixed these things, would you reconsider your review? Now you could also click on their name to see if they have a profile, see if there's a way to contact them that way. And they said, sure, yeah, because your story was good, but your editing was poor. She went and had the book completely re-edited, took it off. It cost her a lot of money to get it re-edited because it was one of those doorstop books, like really long. She did it. I was so proud of her. And after she stung at first, and she was angry, and then she calmed down, and then she realized they're right, and then she said, I can fix this. And she did. And they changed their reviews. And that book went on to have a book club about 6 months later where she sold 5,000 books and got great reviews. So, you know, that uncomfortable silence, or those people that very directly tell you what's wrong, they're actually favors. You know, for your long-term success, your name is associated with the book, whichever one it is, that you can't get the reviews on, or you have the bad reviews on, and it's going to haunt you forever unless you figure out what the problem is. And you can, right? I mean, that's what writers do, is they rewrite. rewrite. Yes?
So I put out a book for beta reviewers.
Mm-hmm.
I have 14 people sign up. I paid $10 for every book to be printed at the printer to give them out. 12 came back. But the last couple of the 12, 2 never did turn it in. Didn't come back. So I sent them a reminder. Yeah, we'll get to it. Nothing. So I sent a second reminder. That was the second one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the silence was it. So all the other people gave me 4s and 1 5. But one of those second reminders gave me a scathing review with swear words, F words, everything.
They were mad about the second reminder.
She was not in my target audience.
Yeah.
She was millennial, so I was just checking to see if the millennial was in my readers. She's not. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Used the F word saying that I had used a thesaurus to write my book, which, you know, I had actually dumbed down the vocabulary, so there's certainly no thesaurus involved.
So a couple of learning points, right, is you really want to approach who you feel certain are your readers. Number 2 is that one reminder's enough. That second reminder gets you the people, either that they're mad about the second reminder, you know, like, and we have 5 millennials we gave birth to, so I'm going to comfortably say that they don't like to be pushed or told what to do. They're the boss, and that you let the silence rule if it's there, because you sometimes don't like what you get. You just cross them off your list. You're off my list. Those 2 people will never get my free book again. And yeah.
It seems that your list is pretty extensive, so how are you keeping track of who's doing what?
I don't anymore. Instead, what I keep track of is I tell them that I'm keeping track of who leaves reviews, and I tell them they have to send me their review, and that gives me a chance to say thank you. Okay, so my list of reviewers right now, I think it's about 500. Before it was like 1,000, and I just pared it down because I didn't think that some of them were participating. So I asked them to send it to me. It allows me to say thank you so much. You're really valuable to me, and that's important when all you're giving them is the book, and you're asking for them to also leave the review. It really is a big ask, believe it or not. And then I will look in my statistics. I use MailerLite for my mailing list, and it allows me to go and see how often people are opening and how often they're clicking. If they're not clicking to download the books that I am sending them, they're off my list, period, because they're a waste of my money. I paid to have a certain number of people. And if they haven't opened them, they're off my list completely. Clicks are more important because they can't actually look at it in a viewing pane where it's not open. And so do I know everyone's leaving a review? No, I know they aren't all. I also know that Amazon takes down 20%. So I try to be generous with the idea of if it's 400 people, then the most I could expect would be 320. And if I got 100, then they don't have to review every time. So I'm just looking to see, are they at least downloading it and sticking with me? Some of them are in Kindle Unlimited, and I want them to do the book in Kindle Unlimited. And if they're at least then going and reading the others, I'm okay.
What was the name of that site that you used?
MailerLite. And I use that to administer my mailing list. Very beginning of time, I used my own self, and I just wrote emails, and they'd bounce, and then people would say, please take me off your list, or whatever, and I was administering that. And they didn't look very good. They were just text. So then I moved over to MailChimp. I didn't love MailChimp. And then I moved to MailerLite. And right now my list is probably 14,000 people. So when I send out an email, people's email addresses have changed and they bounce. MailerLite does that for me, takes them off, fixes it. Somebody wants to unsubscribe, MailerLite takes care of that for me, and someone always does. You'd be surprised who unsubscribes. Sometimes just people are like, I love you, but I get too many emails, and I follow you on Facebook, so I already know what's going on, and I don't want your newsletter. So you can't, when you're administering it yourself, those feelings sometimes get hurt. Whereas if MailerLite's doing it for you, you don't really care. You're like, cool.
Is that spelled L-I-T-E or
Yes.
L-I-G?
L-I-T-E. Mailer, M-A-I-L-E-R, Lite, L-I-T-E.com. And I think I pay $50 a month at 14,000 subscribers. So I better know I'm getting something for that, because that's $600 a year. Please check my math. And that's why I took the ones I thought were dead weight and converted them to reviewers. Because I was like, okay, well, I'm not making money off these 1,000 people. What am I going to do with them? I'm going to ask them to review my books. And they come out of the gates hard. I usually have 75 reviews within about 10 days of publication, and it's them. And they're not all 5s. They're pretty honest, actually.
You use a trick to get reviews before you even release the ebook.
I do. I should tell you this. Thank you. He's not just handsome. He's He's also lifts heavy things and he's smart. So the
Keep him around
I
now.
know, I'm a very lucky woman. Also, this is funny. He's the guy in my ads for my books. I took a picture of him a few years ago where he was like trying to decide whether they were going to wreck the undercarriage of the truck on a road up in the mountains. He's got this all like serious look and looks all rough. And anyway, I thought that's the perfect one for this guy looking for his daughter in the mountains. And so it's become a running joke. It's like, 50,000 shares later of this ad. He's the famous one in the house, and I get all these women saying, "Sexy, is the guy come with the book?" And I'm like, "Not on your life." It's hilarious. Like, that's my 53-year-old husband. Anyway, so with the question, I got so sidetracked. How do I get people to leave book reviews early before the book comes out? I really like him. You can probably tell. The way I do it is I publish the paperback a week ahead of time.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
You publish the what?
Paperback a week ahead of time. And then they can leave the reviews, or sometimes 2 weeks. They can leave the reviews on the live paperback. Then I use the ebook as the big grand release. And then Amazon, you just write to them through Author Central. They tie the 2 editions together. And within 24 hours, all the reviews that were left on the paperback are attached to that ebook. So that within 24 hours of publication, whatever you have accumulated from your advanced review team in the week before is there on the book.
Amazing.
Little tips like this, they're gold, right? This is why we stick around and listen to her talk about her husband. So what I'll do is, I'll literally, with my group, I'll send the book for review out to them. I try not to do it too far in advance because they'll forget. They'll feel no sense of urgency. But like a month ahead of time, I send the book. In whatever format it's in then. I put it up on BookFunnel, I send them a link, I say, we're reading it now, we do not have a review link. Have them write back and say, where do I leave the review? But anyway, then when I get the paperback up, I send them another one and say, it's time for those reviews, here's your link. I don't just give them the link to the paperback, I also give them the link to the book on Goodreads and on BookBub, and I explain you can copy and paste that review and put the same one in all 3 places. Why not get more traction? And if you want to leave it anywhere else, do that too. I have some people that post it on Facebook and never do anything else. I still leave them on the team. I look at that as they're trying, they're super fans, if you will, and there's a lot of value in people that will read your books and just try and try and try. And so I leave them in the group. But that is a good one. Golly, what else did I forget?
BookBuzz, Amazon, and what's the other one?
Goodreads. And I think it's really worth repeating. I mentioned earlier to claim your author page on BookBub. BookBub is such a flexible tool for author promotion. Not only the really expensive BookBub featured deals that you have to have a lot of reviews and sell your soul to get, but they also do new release alerts on your books free that go to your followers. Okay, and you build up a following over time. It may be 5 people at first, but it'll build up slowly. They have, at a very nominal price, pre-order release alerts where you can, for me with my list, it's about $100. So, if you only have a few hundred, it's going to be dollars just to get this new release alert out for a pre-order. And that can be really, really golden. If you think about that, people need to see your book 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before some of them will feel like, oh yeah, I need to go get that book. All of these little, doohickeys help you get to that 5 to 7. So you talking about it on Facebook, Amazon sending out a new release alert, BookBub sending out a new release alert, your newsletter, etc. all adds up to getting them to that tip-over point, maybe, where they'll get the book. Is that something that you wish I said earlier, too?
Well, I was thinking was that with BookBub, what I think you found is that the more activity you do with them, the more likely you are to be chosen by them.
Yes.
And BookBub is the kingmaker, as she said. It's the one, especially for indie. So if you can land, she's landed an incredible number of BookBubs, and I think it has a great deal to do with her success. And they're just people.
They curate, humans curate.
They email back to you. They actually care. They know if you're advertising there. They know if you have an author page there. They know if there's a thing they do where authors promote other authors.
Yeah, you can recommend other books, which is a great thing to do. super thing to do.
It's on BookBub.
It's
Yeah.
on BookBub. So like, let's say you want to recommend Mary Louise's book. You go to her book page on BookBub where she set up her author page and claimed her book. You literally have to claim your books, but it doesn't take much. And I can write a review for her and click recommend. What that'll do is send the recommendation to all of my people, which helps Mary Louise. But what else does it do for me besides make Mary Louise want to do something back? It reminds people I'm here, right? I haven't had a release in 6 months, and they need to remember that Pamela Fagan Hutchins exists, even if it's just recommending other good books. And people have an appetite, people that read, and they're not just going to read your books. So it's a fantastic thing to do to find authors who write something similar to you that you want to do a favor for. And there's no shame in working your way up that ladder and doing it for people that you think are a little bit more successful than you, and you're hoping that more successful person will do it back. That works. I started doing a podcast a few years ago and a live video stream show thinking, nobody's going to watch this stupid thing. Nobody's going to want to be on my show. I mean, I've got Sandra Brown on this summer. I've had everybody that we read on this show, and they do favors for me because I put them on my dumb little show that maybe 50,000 people will see, not millions. And then I write and say, Craig Johnson, will you blur my next book? Sure, Pamela, no problem. So, anyway, think of ways that you can do things for other authors, and also ways that keeps your name alive.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Off topic, but yes, thank you. Thank you guys very much. I think we get to eat now. Yay. And thank you, honey, for helping my brain.
I've got to go check out the motel, I'll be back. Good lunch now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Melissa. Sorry, it's mouthful. I didn't get to finish before we started. It's a little stale now.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Millie Copper.
Nice to meet you.